Hello everyone. Um, Let me raise the volume a little bit. Hi. Hello. Give me 1 second. Let me play with the settings a little bit. Hi. Hello. Hi. Let me play with the settings. Let's see who's here today. Hello, Sasha, Arsa, Lika, Mickey, Sophia, Fire Gaming. Who else? I'm gonna sneeze. Hello, Sasha, Arsa, Lika, Mickey, Sophia, Fire Gaming. Oh, sorry. Jillian. Who else is here today? Jillian. Who else is here today? And Anna. Bless you, thank you, thank you. Did I just wake up? No. Hello, Jay. Today, I decided to, go back to my roots. What is this? What is that sound? What? Oh, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I had the stream playing twice. Sorry. There you go. Alright, I fixed it. Sorry about that. No, that's my bad. I apologize. I fixed it. What was I saying? Hello, Chinda. Hello. What was I saying? I wanted to go back to my roots. So today we're gonna actually do ASMR. We're gonna do ASMR. It's been a while since I actually did a live ASMR. What are my thoughts on noodles? I think they're very lovely. Yes. So now is a perfect time to relax. Maybe if you're doing some homework, or maybe you want to take a nap or go to bed. Yes. So no like jokes. No crazy stories or funny laughs. None of that today. We're just gonna do some ASMR content. We're gonna tone it back a little bit. Because this is what I used to do. Some of you are newer here, and you didn't know that this is actually how I started streaming, was reading stuff. So let's get to it, shall we? And today we're going to be continuing a story called Winnie the Pooh. It's been a long time since we've read this. A long time. Hello, Trinda. Looks like you changed your name. So And hello, Elise. Hi, Elise. Welcome to the stream. Thank you guys for coming. I hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. Yes. And I also have some tea with me because these streams usually make my throat really dry. Okay. Let's get started. So, the last time we read chapter 7. It looks like we're here on chapter 8. We're already in the 8th chapter because I read the other 7 chapters in prior streams. And today I want to try to finish the book. It looks like we're almost done. It says here 62% of the way through the book. If you would like to see the rest of the story, then please go watch the past streams I did. But those were a few weeks ago. But let's get started, okay? Okay. Chapter 8, in which Christopher Robin leads an expedition to the North Pole. One fine day, another thing I want to say, I don't really read the chat when I read, so I'm sorry if I miss your chat messages. And Fire, I'm sorry that yeah, I'm sorry I should do this more often. I wanted to do it, but like Genshin Impact was just so much fun. Yeah, so anyway, let's get started. One fine day, Pooh had stumped up to the top of the forest to see if his friend Christopher Robin was interested in bears at all. At breakfast that morning, a simple meal of marmalade spread lightly over a honeycomb or two, he had suddenly thought of a new song. It began like this. Sing ho, for the life of a bear. When he had got as far as this, he scratched his head and thought to himself, that's a very good start for a song. But what about the second line? He tried singing, ho, 2 or 3 times, but it didn't seem to help. Perhaps it would be better, he thought, if I sang hi for the life of a bear. So he sang it, but it wasn't. Very well then, he said, I shall sing that first line twice, and perhaps if I sing it very quickly, I shall find myself singing the 3rd and 4th lines before I have time to think of them. And that will be a good song. Now then. Sing ho for the life of a bear. Sing ho for the life of a bear. I don't much mind if it rains or snows, 'cause I've got a lot of honey on my nice new nose. I don't much care if it snows or thaws, 'cause I've got a lot of honey on my nice clean paws. Sing ho for a bear, sing ho for a Pooh, and I'll have a nice little something in an hour or 2. He was so pleased with this song that he sang it all the way to the top of the forest. And if I go on singing it much longer, he thought, it will be time for the little something, and then the last line won't be true. So we turned it into a hum instead. Christopher Robin was sitting outside his door, putting on his big boots. As soon as he saw the big boots, Pooh knew that an adventure was going to happen. And he brushed the honey off his nose with the back of his paw and spruced himself up as well as he could, so as to look ready for anything. Good morning, Christopher Robin, he called out. Hello, Pooh Bear. I can't get this boot on. That's bad, said Pooh. Do you think you could very kindly lean against me? 'Cause I keep pulling so hard that I fall over backwards. Pooh sat down, dug his feet into the ground, and pushed hard against Christopher Robin's back. And Christopher Robin pushed hard against his, and pulled at his boot until he had got it on. And that's that, said Pooh. What do we do next? We are all going on an expedition, said Christopher Robin, as he got up and brushed himself. Thank you, Pooh. Going on an exposition, said Pooh eagerly. I don't think I've ever been on one of those. Where are we going on this exposition? Expedition, silly old bear. It's got an X in it. Oh, said Pooh, I know, but he didn't really. We're going to discover the North Pole. Oh, said Pooh. What is the North Pole? He asked. It's just a thing you discover, said Christopher Robin carelessly, not being quite sure himself. Oh, I see, said Pooh. Are bears any good at discovering it? Of course they are. And Rabbit and Conga and all of you. It's an expedition. That's what an expedition means. A long line of everybody. You'd better tell the others to get ready, while I see if my gun's all right, and we must all bring provisions. Bring what? Things to eat. Oh, said Pooh happily. I thought you had said provisions. I'll go and tell them, and he stumped off. The first person he met was Rabbit. Hello, Rabbit, he said. Is that you? Let's pretend it isn't, said Rabbit, and see what happens. I've got a message for you. I'll give it to him. We're all going on an exposition with Christopher Robin. What is it when we're on it? A sort of boat, I think, said Pooh. Oh, that sort. Yes, and we're going to discover a pole or something. Or was it a mole? Anyhow, we're going to discover it. We are we? Said Rabbit. Yes, and we've got to bring things to eat with us, in case we want to eat them. Now I'm going down to Piglet's. Tell Conga, will you? He left Rabbit and hurried down to Piglet's house. The piglet was sitting on the ground at the door of his house, blowing happily at a dandelion, and wondering whether it would be this year, next year, sometime, or never. He had just discovered that it would be never, and was trying to remember what it was, and hoping it wasn't anything nice, when Pooh came up. Oh, Piglet, said Pooh excitedly, we're going on an exposition. All of us, with things to eat, to discover something. To discover what? Said Piglet anxiously. Oh, just something. Nothing fierce? Christopher Robin didn't say anything about fierce. He just said it had an X. It isn't their necks I mind, said Piglet earnestly. It's their teeth. But if Christopher Robin is coming, I don't mind anything. In a little while, they were all ready at the top of the forest, and the exposition started. First came Christopher Robin and Rabbit, then Piglet and Pooh, then Conga with Roo in her pocket, and Owl, then Eeyore, and at the end, in a long line, all Rabbit's friends and relations. I didn't ask them, explained Rabbit carelessly. They just came. They always do. They can march at the end after Eeyore. What I say, said Eeyore, is that it's unsettling. I don't want to come on this expo, what Pooh said. I only came to oblige. But here I am. And if I am the end of the expo, what we're talking about, then let me be the end. But if every time I want to sit down for a little rest, I have to brush away half a dozen of Rabbit's smaller friends and relations first, then this isn't an expo, whatever it is. At all. It's simply a confused noise. That's what I say. I see what Eeyore means, said Owl. If you ask me. I'm not asking anybody, said Eeyore. I'm just telling everybody. We can look for the North Pole, or we can play Here We Go Gathering Nuts and May with the end part of an ant's nest. It's all the same to me. There was a shout from the top of the line. Come on, called Christopher Robin. Come on, called Pooh and Piglet. Come on, called Owl. We're starting, said Rabbit. I must go. And he hurried off to the front of the exposition with Christopher Robin. All right, said Eeyore. We're going. Only don't blame me. So off they all went to discover the pole. And as they walked, they chattered to each other of this and that, all except Pooh, who was making up a song. This is the first verse, he said to Piglet, when he was ready with it. First verse of what? My song. What song? This one. Which one? Well, if you listen, Piglet, you'll hear it. How do you know I'm not listening? Pooh couldn't answer that one, so he began to sing. They all went off to discover the pole, Owl and Piglet and Rabbit and all. It's a thing you discover, as I've been told, by Owl and Piglet and Rabbit and all. Eeyore, Christopher Robin and Pooh and Rabbit relations all went too. And where the pole was none of them knew. Sing hey for Owl and Rabbit and all. Hush, said Christopher Robin, turning round to Pooh. We're just coming to a dangerous place. Hush, said Pooh, turning around quickly to Piglet. Hush, said Piglet to Conga. Hush, said Conga to Owl, while Roo said hush several times to himself very quietly. Hush, said Owl to Eeyore. Hush, said Eeyore in a terrible voice to all Rabbit's friends and relations, and hush, they said hastily to each other, all down the line, until it got to the last one of all. And the last and smallest friend and relation was so upset to find that the whole exposition was saying hush to him, that he buried himself head downward in a crack in the ground and stayed there for 2 days until the danger was over, and then went home in a great hurry and lived quietly with his aunt ever afterwards. His name was Alexander Beetle. They had come to a stream which twisted and tumbled between high rocky banks, and Christopher Robin saw at once how dangerous it was. It's just the place, he explained, for an ambush. What sort of ambush? Whispered Pooh to Piglet. A gorse bush? my dear Pooh, said Owl in his superior way, don't you know what an ambush is? Owl, said Piglet, looking round at him severely. Pooh's whisper was a perfect private whisper, and there was no need. An ambush, said Owl, is a sort of surprise. So is a gorse bush sometimes, said Pooh. An ambush, as I was about to explain to Pooh, said Piglet, is a sort of surprise. If people jump out at you suddenly, that's an ambush, said Owl. It's an ambush, Pooh, when people jump out at you suddenly, explained Piglet. Pooh, who now knew what an ambush was, said that a gorse bush had sprung at him suddenly one day when he fell off a tree, and he had taken 6 days to get all the prickles out of himself. We are not talking about gorse bushes, said Owl, a little crossly. I am, said Pooh. They were climbing very cautiously up the stream now, going from rock to rock, and after they had gone a little way, they came to a place where the banks widened out at each side, so that on each side of the water there was a level strip of grass on which they could sit. Where they can sit down and rest. As soon as he saw this, Christopher Robin called halt, and they all sat down and rested. I think, said Christopher Robin, that we ought to eat all our provisions now, so that we shan't have so much to carry. Eat all our what? Said Pooh. All that we've brought, said Piglet, getting to work. That's a good idea, said Pooh, and he got to work too. Have you all got something? Said Christopher Robin, with his mouth full. All except me, said Eeyore, as usual. He looked round at them in his melancholy way. I suppose none of you are sitting on a thistle by any chance. I believe I am, said Pooh. Ow! He got up and looked behind him. Yes, I was. I thought so. Thank you, Pooh. If you've quite finished with it, he moved across to Pooh's place and began to eat. It don't do them any good, you know, sitting on them, he went on as he looked up munching. Takes all the life out of them. Remember that one time, all of you, a little consideration, a little thought for others makes all the difference. As soon as he had finished his lunch, Christopher Robin whispered to Rabbit, and Rabbit said, Yes, yes, of course, and they walked a little way up the stream together. I didn't want the others to hear, said Christopher Robin. Quite so, said Rabbit, looking important. I wondered, it's only Rabbit. I suppose you don't know. What does the North Pole look like? Well, said Rabbit, stroking his whiskers, now you're asking me. I did know once, only I've sort of forgotten, said Christopher Robin carelessly. It's a funny thing, said Rabbit, but I've sort of forgotten too, although I did know once. I suppose it's just a pole stuck in the ground. Sure to be a pole, said Rabbit, because of calling it a pole, and if it's a pole, well, I should think it would be sticking in the ground, shouldn't you? Because there'd be nowhere else to stick it. Yes, that's what I thought. The only thing, said Rabbit, is where is the sticking? That's what we're looking for, said Christopher Robin. They went back to the others. Piglet was lying on his back, sleeping peacefully. Roo was washing his face and paws in the stream, while Kanga explained to everybody proudly that this was the first time he had ever washed his face himself. And Owl was telling Kanga an interesting anecdote full of long words like encyclopedia and rhododendron, to which Kanga wasn't listening. I don't hold with all this washing, grumbled Eeyore. This modern, behind the ears nonsense. What do you think, Pooh? Well, said Pooh, I think, but we shall never know what Pooh thought. For there came a sudden squeak from Roo, a splash, and a very loud cry of alarm from Kanga. So much for washing, said Eeyore. Roo's fallen in, cried Rabbit, and he and Christopher Robin came rushing down to the rescue. Look at me swimming, squeaked Roo from the middle of his pool and was hurried down a waterfall into the next pool. Are you all right, Roo dear? Called Kanga anxiously. Yes, said Roo. Look at me, and down he went over the next waterfall into another pool. Everybody was doing something to help. Piglet, wide awake, suddenly was jumping up and down and making "oh, I say" noises. Owl was explaining that in a case of sudden and temporary immersion, the important thing was to keep the head above water. Kanga was jumping along the bank, saying, Are you sure you're all right, Roo dear? To which Roo, from whatever pool he was in at the moment, was answering, Look at me swimming. Eeyore had turned round and hung his tail over the first pool into which Roo fell, and with his back to the accident was grumbling quietly to himself and saying, All this washing, but catch on to my tail, little Roo, and you'll be all right. And Christopher Robin and Rabbit came hurrying past Eeyore and were calling out to the others in front of them. All right, Roo, I'm coming, called Christopher Robin. Get something across the stream lower down. Some of you fellows, called Rabbit. But Pooh was getting something. 2 pools below Roo, he was standing with a long pole in his paws, and Kanga came up and took one end of it. In between them, they held it across the lower part of the pool, and Roo, still bubbling proudly, Look at me swimming, drifted up against it and climbed out. Did you see me swimming? Squeaked Roo excitedly, while Kanga scolded him and rubbed him down. Pooh, did you see me swimming? That's called swimming. What I was doing. Rabbit, did you see what I was doing? Swimming. Hello, Piglet. I say, Piglet, what do you think I was doing? Swimming. Christopher Robin, did you see me? But Christopher Robin wasn't listening. He was looking at Pooh. Pooh, he said, where did you find that pole? Pooh looked at the pole in his hands. I just found it, he said. I thought it ought to be useful. I just picked it up. Pooh, said Christopher Robin solemnly, the expedition is over. You have found the North Pole. Oh, said Pooh. Eeyore was sitting with his tail in the water when they all got back to him. Tell Roo to be quick, somebody, he said. My tail's getting cold. I don't want to mention it, but I just mentioned it. I don't want to complain, but there it is. My tail's cold. Here I am, squeaked Rue. Oh, there you are. Did you see me swimming? Eeyore took his tail out of the water and swished it from side to side. As I expected, he said. Lost all feeling. Numbed it. That's what it's done. Numbed it. Well, as long as nobody minds, I suppose it's alright. Poor old Eeyore. I'll try it for you, said Christopher Robin, and he took out his handkerchief and rubbed it. Thank you, Christopher Robin. You're the only one who seems to understand about tails. They don't think. That's what's the matter with some of these others. They've no imagination. A tail isn't a tail to them. It's just a little bit extra at the back. Never mind, Eeyore, said Christopher Robin, rubbing his hardest. Is that better? It's feeling more like a tail, perhaps. It belongs again, if you know what I mean. Hello, Eeyore, said Pooh, coming up to them with his pole. Hello, Pooh. Thank you for asking, but I shall be able to use it again. In a day or two. I'll be able to use it again in a day or two. Use what? Said Pooh. What are we talking about? I wasn't talking about anything, said Pooh, looking puzzled. My mistake again. I thought you were saying how sorry you were about my tail being all numb. And could you do anything to help? No, said Pooh. That wasn't me, he said. He thought for a little and then suggested helpfully. Perhaps it was somebody else. Well, thank him for me when you see him. Pooh looked anxiously at Christopher Robin. Pooh's found the North Pole, said Christopher Robin. Isn't that lovely? Pooh looked modestly down. Is that it? Said Eeyore. Yes, said Christopher Robin. Is that what we were looking for? Yes, said Pooh. Oh, said Eeyore. Well, anyhow, it didn't rain, he said. They stuck the pole in the ground, and Christopher Robin tied a message onto it. North Pole, discovered by Pooh. Pooh found it. Then they all went home again, and I think, but I am not quite sure, that Roo had a hot bath and went straight to bed. But Pooh went back to his own house, and feeling very proud of what he had done, had a little something to revive himself. And there you go, that's chapter 8. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I really like this story. Let me drink a little bit. Okay. Did everyone leave? You liked it? I'm glad you liked it. Is everyone asleep? I hope so. I hope you guys are sleeping. Shall we continue? We're 75% of the way. There's still a few pages left. I don't know how many chapters are there. But I hope you guys are enjoying. you guys are having fun. Let's continue, shall we? Chapter 9, in which Piglet is entirely surrounded by water. It rained, and it rained, and it rained. Piglet told himself that never in all his life, and he was goodness knows how old, 3, was it? Or 4? Never had he seen so much rain. Days and days and days. If only, he thought, as he looked out of the window, I had been in Pooh's house, or Christopher Robin's house, or Rabbit's house when it began to rain. Then I should have had company all this time. Instead of being here all alone, with nothing to do except wonder when it will stop. And he imagined himself with Pooh, saying, "Did you ever see such rain, Pooh?" And Pooh saying, "Isn't it awful, Piglet?" And Piglet saying, "I wonder how it is over Christopher Robin's way." And Pooh saying, "I should think poor old Rabbit is about flooded out by this time. It would have been jolly to talk like this, and really, it wasn't much good having anything excited like floods, if you couldn't share them with somebody." For it was rather exciting. The little dry ditches in which Piglet had nosed about so often had become streams. The little streams across which he had splashed were rivers, and the rivers, between whose steep banks they had played so happily, had sprawled out of its own bed and was taking up so much room everywhere, that Piglet was beginning to wonder whether it would be coming into his bed soon. "It's a little anxious," he said to himself, "to be a very small animal, entirely surrounded by water. Christopher Robin and Pooh could escape by climbing trees, and Conga could escape by jumping, and Rabbit could escape by burrowing, and Owl could escape by flying, and Eeyore could escape by making a loud noise until rescued. And here am I, surrounded by water, and I can't do anything." It went on raining, and every day the water got a little higher, until now it was nearly up to Piglet's window, and still he hadn't done anything. "There's Pooh," he thought to himself. "Pooh hasn't much brain, but he never comes to any harm. He does silly things, and they turn out right. There's Owl. Owl hasn't exactly got brain, but he knows things. He would know the right thing to do when surrounded by water. There's Rabbit. He hasn't learnt in books, but he can always think of a clever plan. There's Conga. She isn't clever. Conga isn't. But she would be so anxious about Roo that she would do a good thing to do without thinking about it. And then there's Eeyore. And Eeyore is so miserable anyhow that he wouldn't mind about this. But I wonder what Christopher Robin would do." Then suddenly he remembered a story which Christopher Robin had told him about a man on a desert island who had written something in a bottle and thrown it in the sea. And Piglet thought that if he wrote something in a bottle and threw it in the water, perhaps somebody would come and rescue him. He left the window and began to search his house, all of it that wasn't underwater. And at last he found a pencil and a small piece of dry paper, and a bottle with a cork to it, and he wrote on one side of the paper, "Help, Piglet, me." And on the other side, "It's me, Piglet, help, help." Then he put the paper in a bottle, and he corked the bottle up as tightly as he could, and he leaned it out of his window as far as he could lean without falling in, and he threw the bottle as far as he could throw. Splash! And in a little while it bobbed up again on the water, and he watched it floating slowly away in the distance until his eyes ached with looking. And sometimes he thought it was the bottle, and sometimes he thought it was just a ripple on the water, which he was following. And then suddenly he knew that he would never see it again, and that he had done all that he could to do. He thought all that he could do to save himself. So now he thought, somebody else will have to do something, and I hope they will do it soon. Because if they don't, I shall have to swim, which I can't. So I hope they do it. And then he gave a very long sigh and said, "I wish Pooh were here. It's so much more friendly with two." When the rain began, Pooh was asleep. It rained and it rained and it rained, and he slept and he slept and he slept. He had had a tiring day. You remember how we discovered the North Pole? Well, he was so proud of this that he asked Christopher Robin if there were any other poles such as a bear of little brain might discover. "There's a South Pole," said Christopher Robin, "and I expect there's an East and West Pole, though people don't like talking about them." Pooh was very excited when he heard this, and suggested that they should have an expedition to discover the East Pole, but Christopher Robin had thought of something else to do with Conga. So Pooh went out to discover the East Pole by himself. Whether he discovered it or not, I forget, but he was so tired when he got home that in the very middle of his supper, after he had been eating for little more than half an hour, he fell fast asleep in his chair and slept and slept and slept. Then suddenly he was dreaming. He was at the East Pole, and it was a very cold pole with the coldest sort of snow and ice all over it. He had found a beehive to sleep in, but there wasn't room for his legs, so he had left them outside, and wild woozles, such as inhabit the East Pole, came and nibbled all that fur off his legs to make nests for their young. And the more they nibbled, the colder his legs got, until suddenly he woke up with an ow. And there he was, sitting in his chair with his feet in the water and water all around him. He splashed to his door and looked out. "This is serious," said Pooh. "I must have an escape." So he took his largest pot of honey and escaped with it to a broad branch of his tree well above the water, and then he climbed down again and escaped with another pot. And when the whole escape was finished, there was Pooh sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 10 pots of honey. Two days later, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 4 pots of honey. 3 days later, there was Pooh, sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him was one pot of honey. 4 days later, there was Pooh, and it was on the morning of the 4th day that Piglet's bottle came floating past him, and with one loud cry of "Honey!" Pooh plunged into the water, seized the bottle, and struggled back to his tree again. "Bother," said Pooh, as he opened it. "All that wet for nothing. What's that bit of paper doing?" He took it out and looked at it. "It's a message," he said to himself. "That's what it is. And that letter is a P. And so is that. And so is that. And P means Pooh. So it's a very important message to me. And I can't read it. I must find Christopher Robin or Owl or Piglet, one of those clever readers who can read things, and they will tell me what this message means. Only I can't swim. Bother." Then he had an idea, and I think that for a bear of very little brain, it was a good idea, he said to himself. "If a bottle can float, then a jar can float, and if a jar floats, I can sit on the top of it. It's a very big jar." So he took his biggest jar and corked it up. "All boats have to have a name," he said, "so I shall call mine the Floating Bear." And with these words he dropped his boat into the water and jumped in after it. For a little while, Pooh and the Floating Bear were uncertain as to which of them was meant to be on the top. But after trying one or two different positions, they settled down with the Floating Bear underneath and Pooh triumphantly astride it, paddling vigorously with his feet. Christopher Robin lived at the very top of the forest. It rained, and it rained, and it rained, but the water couldn't come up to his house. It was rather jolly to look down into the valleys and see the water all around him. But it rained so hard that he stayed indoors most of the time and thought about things. Every morning he went out with his umbrella and put a stick in the place where the water came up to. And every next morning he went out and couldn't see his stick anymore. So he put another stick in its place where the water came up to. And then he walked home again. And each morning he had a shorter way to walk than he had the morning before. On the morning of the 5th day, he saw the water all around him and knew that for the first time in his life he was on a real island, which was very exciting. It was on this morning that Owl came flying over the water to say "How do you do?" to his friend Christopher Robin. "I say, Owl," said Christopher Robin, "isn't this fun? I'm on an island. The atmospheric condition has been very unfavorable lately," said Owl. "The what?" "It has been raining," explained Owl. "Yes," said Christopher Robin, "it has. The flood level has reached an unprecedented height." "The who?" "There's a lot of water about," explained Owl. "Yes," said Christopher Robin, "there is. However, the prospects are rapidly becoming more favorable at any moment. Have you seen Pooh?" No, at any moment. I hope he's alright, said Christopher Robin. I've been wondering about him. I expect piglets with him. Do you think they're alright, Owl? I expect so, you see, at any moment. Do go and see Owl, because Pooh hasn't got very much brain, and he might do something silly, and I do love him so. Owl, do you see Owl? That's all right, said Owl. I'll go back directly, and he I'll go back directly, and he flew off. In a little while he was back again. Pooh isn't there, he said. Not there? Has been there. He's been sitting on a branch of his tree outside his house with 9 pots of honey, but he isn't there now. Oh, Pooh, cried Christopher Robin, where are you? Here I am, said a growly voice behind him. Pooh! They rushed into each other's arms. How did you get here, Pooh? Asked Christopher Robin, when he was ready to talk again. On my boat, said Pooh proudly. I had a very important message sent me in a bottle, and owing to having got some water in my eyes, I couldn't read it, so I brought it to you on my boat. With these proud words he gave Christopher Robin the message. But it's from Piglet, said Christopher Robin when he had read it. Isn't there anything about Pooh in it? Asked the bear, looking over his shoulder. Christopher Robin read the message aloud. Oh, are those peas piglets? I thought they were Pooh's. We must rescue him at once. I thought he was with you, Pooh. Owl, could you rescue him on your back? I don't think so, said Owl. After grave thought, it is doubtful if the necessary dorsal muscles. Then would you fly to him at once and say that rescue is coming? And Pooh and I will think of a rescue and come as quick as ever. As quick as ever we can. Oh, don't talk, Owl. Go on quickly. And still thinking of something to say, Owl flew off. Now then, Pooh, said Christopher Robin, where's your boat? I ought to say, explained Pooh, as they walked down to the shore of the island, that it isn't just an ordinary sort of boat. Sometimes it's a boat, and sometimes it's more of an accident. It all depends. Depends on what? On whether I'm on the top of it or underneath it. Oh, well, where is it? There, said Pooh, pointing proudly to the floating bear. It wasn't what Christopher Robin expected, and the more he looked at it, the more he thought what a brave and clever bear Pooh was. And the more Christopher Robin thought this, the more Pooh looked modestly down his nose and tried to pretend he wasn't. But it's too small for 2 of us, said Christopher Robin sadly. 3 of us with Piglet. That makes it smaller still. Oh, Pooh Bear, what shall we do? And then this bear, Pooh Bear, Winnie the Pooh, FOP, Friend of Piglets, RC, Rabbit's Companion, PD, Pole Discoverer, EC, and TF, Eeyore's Comforter, and Tail Finder. In fact, Pooh himself said something so clever that Christopher Robin could only look at him with mouth open and eyes staring, wondering if this was really the bear of very little brain whom he had known and loved so long. We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. We might go in your umbrella, said Pooh. For suddenly Christopher Robin saw that they might. He opened his umbrella and put it point downwards in the water. It floated but wobbled. Pooh got in. He was just beginning to say that it was all right now when he found that it wasn't. So after a short drink, which he didn't really want, he waded back to Christopher Robin. Then they both got in together, and it wobbled no longer. I shall call this boat the Brain of Pooh, said Christopher Robin, and the Brain of Pooh set sail forthwith in a southwesterly direction, revolving gracefully. You can imagine Piglet's joy when at last the ship came in sight of him, and after years he liked to think that he fled. But the only danger he had really been in was in the last half hour of his imprisonment, when Owl, who had just flown up, sat on a branch of his tree to comfort him, and told him a very long story about an aunt who had once laid a seagull's egg by mistake. And that story went on and on, rather like this sentence, until Piglet, who was listening out of his window without much hope, went to sleep quietly and naturally, slipping slowly out of the window towards the water until he was only hanging on by his toes. At which moment, luckily, a sudden loud squawk from Owl, which was really part of the story, being what his aunt said, woke the piglet up, and just gave him time to jerk himself back into safety and say, "How interesting." And did she? Well, you can imagine his joy when at last he saw the good ship, Brain of Pooh, Captain C. Robin, First Mate P. Bear, coming over the sea to rescue him. Christopher Robin and Pooh again. And that is really the end of the story, and I am very tired after that. After that last sentence, I think I shall stop there. That last sentence was a mouthful, wasn't it? That was a long sentence at the end. Alright. Sorry I'm not reading the chat. Yeah, this line does sound like I said it. And that is really the end of the story. And I'm very tired after that. Last sentence. I think I shall stop there. Okay, I think this might be the last chapter of Winnie the Pooh. I don't know what I should read afterwards. What other things can I read? Do you guys think? I really like Winnie the Pooh. I wish it was longer. I think there's other books, but I can't read them because it's copyright, so I cannot show it. But yeah, so far it's been a lot of fun. What's happening with Arsa? Beauty and the Beast? I think I have that. What's happening with Arsa? And sorry guys, I can't read the chat while I'm reading reading the story, so I don't really know what's happening in the chat. But I hope you guys are being respectful. And, I hope you guys are behaving, because this is just a reading stream. I just want to read. Beauty and the Beast might be very long, so we'll see. I'll see if I can find it. I'll see. I might be able to have it. Okay, guys, look. I don't know. It's not that deep. Like, I don't really care about what's happening in the chat. I just want to read the story. Don't fight. Just, like, listen, you know. Hello, Ice. Hi, Ice. Welcome. Today we're soft reading today. I hope you can bear with it. Please, everybody, get along. And hello, Delisa, hello, hi. Thank you for coming to the stream. Alright, we're just going to continue here. This is the last, I think this is the last chapter of Winnie the Pooh. Here we go. And it says it's the last, I assume this is the last chapter. It sounds like it. But, let's continue, shall we? Chapter 10, in which Christopher Robin gives Pooh a party, and we say goodbye. One day, when the sun had come back over the forest, bringing with it the scent of May, and all the streams of the forest were tinkling happily to find themselves their own pretty shape again, and the little pools lay dreaming of the life they had seen on the big things they had done. And in the warmth and quiet of the forest, the cuckoo was trying over his voice carefully and listening to see if he liked it. And wood pigeons were complaining gently to themselves in their lazy, comfortable way that is, was the other fellow's fault. But it didn't matter very much. On such a day as this, Christopher Robin whistled in a special way he had, and Owl came flying out of the 100-acre wood to see what he wanted. Owl, said Christopher Robin, I'm going to give a party. You are you? Said Owl. And it's to be a special sort of party, because it's because of what Pooh did when he did, and what he did to save Piglet from the flood. Oh, that's what it's for, it is, said Owl. Is it? Is it? Said Owl. Yes. So will you tell Pooh as quickly as you can, and all the others? Because it will be tomorrow. Oh, it will it? Said Owl, still being as helpful as possible. So will you go and tell them, Owl? Owl tried to think of something very wise to say, but couldn't. So he flew off to tell the others, and the first person he told was Pooh. Pooh, he said, Christopher Robin is giving a party. Oh, said Pooh, and then seeing that Owl expected him to say something else, he said, will there be those little cake things with pink sugar icing? Owl felt that it was rather beneath him to talk about little cake things with pink sugar icing, so he told Pooh exactly what Christopher Robin had said, and flew off to Eeyore. A party for me, thought Pooh to himself. How grand! And he began to wonder if all the other animals would know that it was a special Pooh party, and if Christopher Robin had told them about the floating bear and the brain of Pooh, and all the wonderful ships he had invented and sailed on. And he began to think how awful it would be if everybody had forgotten about it. And nobody quite knew what the party was for. And the more he thought like this, the more the party got muddled in his mind, like a dream when nothing goes right. And the dream began to sing itself over in his head until it became a sort of song. It was an anxious Pooh song. 3 cheers for Pooh. For who? For Pooh. Why, what did he do? I thought you knew. He saved his friend from a wedding. 3 cheers for Bear. For where? For Bear. He couldn't swim, but he rescued him. He rescued who? Oh, listen, do. I am talking of Pooh. Of who? Of Pooh. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Well, Pooh was a bear of enormous brain. Just say it again. Of enormous brain. Of enormous what? Well, he ate a lot, and I don't think if he could swim or not, but he managed to float on a sort of boat. On a sort of what? Well, a sort of pot. So now let's give him 3 hearty cheers. So now let's give him 3 hearty witches, and hope he'll be with us for years and years, and grow in health and wisdom and riches. 3 cheers for Pooh. For who? For Pooh. 3 cheers for Bear. For where? For Bear. 3 cheers for the wonderful Winnie the Pooh. Just tell me, somebody, what did he do? While this was going on inside of him, Owl was talking to Eeyore. Eeyore, said Owl, Christopher Robin is giving a party. Very interesting, said Eeyore. I suppose they will be sending me down the odd bits which had got trodden on. Kind and thoughtful. Not at all. Don't mention it. There's an invitation for you. What's that like? An invitation? Yes, I heard you. Who dropped it? This isn't anything to eat. It's asking you to the party tomorrow. Eeyore shook his head slowly. You mean Piglet, the little fellow with the excited ears. That's Piglet. I'll tell him. No, no, said Owl, getting quite fussy. It's you. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Christopher Robin said all of them. Tell all of them. All of them, except Eeyore. All of them, said Owl sulkily. Ah, said Eeyore. A mistake, no doubt, but still, I shall come. Only don't blame me if it rains. But it didn't rain. Christopher Robin had made a long table out of some long pieces of wood, and they all sat around it. Christopher Robin sat at one end, and Pooh sat at the other. And between them, on one side, were Owl and Eeyore and Piglet, and between them, on the other side, were Rabbit and Roo and Conga. And all Rabbit's friends and relations spread themselves about on the grass, and waited hopefully in case anybody spoke to them, or dropped anything, or asked them the time. It was the first party to which Roo had ever been, and he was very excited. As soon as they had sat down, he began to talk. "Hello, Pooh," he squeaked. "Hello, Roo," said Pooh. Roo jumped up and down in his seat for a little while, and then began again. "Hello, Piglet," he squeaked. Piglet waved a paw at him, being too busy to say anything. "Hello, Eeyore," said Roo. Eeyore nodded gloomily at him. "It will rain soon. You see if it doesn't," he said. Roo looked to see if it hadn't, and it didn't. So he said, "Hello, Owl," and Owl said, "Hello, my little fellow," in a kindly way, and went on telling Christopher Robin about an accident which had nearly happened to a friend of his whom Christopher Robin didn't know. And Conga said to Roo, "Drink up your milk first, dear, and talk afterwards." So Roo, who was drinking his milk, tried to say that he could do both at once, and had to be patted on the back, and tried for quite a long time afterwards. When they had all nearly eaten enough, Christopher Robin banged on the table with his spoon, and everybody stopped talking and was very silent, except Roo, who was just finishing a loud attack of hiccups and tried to look as if it was one of Rabbit's relations. "This party," said Christopher Robin, "is a party because of what someone did, and we all know who it was, and it's his party because of what he did, and I've got a present for him, and here it is." Then he felt about a little and whispered, "Where is it?" While he was looking, Eeyore coughed in an impressive way and began to speak. "Friends," he said, including oddments, "it is a great pleasure, or perhaps I had better say, it has been a pleasure so far, to see you at my party. What I did was nothing. Any of you, except Rabbit and Owl and Conga, would have done the same. Oh, and Pooh. My remarks do not, of course, apply to Piglet and Roo, because they are too small. Any of you would have done the same, but it just happened to be me. It was not. I need heartily say, with an idea of getting what Christopher Robin is looking for, and he put his front leg to his mouth and said in a loud whisper, 'Try under the table.' That I did what I did, but because I feel that we should all do what we can to help, I feel that we should all..." said Roo accidentally. "Roo dear," said Conga reproachfully. "Was it me?" asked Roo, a little surprised. "What's Eeyore talking about?" Piglet whispered to Pooh. "I don't know," said Pooh rather dolefully. "I thought this was your party." "I thought it was once, but I suppose it isn't." "I'd sooner it was yours than Eeyore's," said Piglet. "So would I," said Pooh. "Hiccup," said Roo again. "As I was saying," said Eeyore loudly and sternly, "as I was saying, when I was interrupted by various loud sounds. I feel that. Here it is, Christopher Robin, cried Christopher Robin excitedly. Pass it down to silly old Pooh. It's for Pooh. For Pooh, said Eeyore. Of course it is. The best bear in all the world. I might have known, said Eeyore. After all, one can't complain. I have my friends. Somebody spoke to me only yesterday, and was it last week or the week before that Rabbit bumped into me and said, bother, the social round. Always something going on. Nobody was listening, for they were all saying, open it, Pooh. What is it, Pooh? I know what it is. No, you don't. And other helpful remarks of the sort. And of course, Pooh was opening it as quickly as ever he could, but without cutting the string, because you never know when a bit of string might be useful. At last, it was undone. When Pooh saw what it was, he nearly fell down. He was so pleased. It was a special pencil case. There were pencils in it marked B for bear, and pencils marked HB for helping bear, and pencils marked BB for brave bear. There was a knife for sharpening the pencils, an India rubber for rubbing out anything which you had spelt wrong, and a ruler for ruling lines for the words to walk on, and inches marked on the ruler in case you wanted to know how many inches anything was, and blue pencils and red pencils and green pencils for saying special things in blue and red and green. And all these lovely things were in little pockets of their own in a special case which shut with a click when you clicked it. And they were all for Pooh. Oh, said Pooh. Oh, Pooh, said everybody else except Eeyore. Thank you, growled Pooh. But Eeyore was saying to himself, this writing business, pencils and whatnot, overrated, if you ask me. Silly stuff, nothing in it. Later on, when they had all said goodbye and thank you to Christopher Robin, Pooh and Piglet walked home thoughtfully together in the golden evening, and for a long time they were silent. When you wake up in the morning, Pooh, said Piglet at last, what's the first thing you say to yourself? What's for breakfast? Said Pooh. What do you say, Piglet? I say, I wonder what's going to happen. Exciting today, said Piglet. Pooh nodded thoughtfully. It's the same thing, he said. And what did happen? Said Christopher Robin. When? Next morning. I don't know. Could you think and tell me, and Pooh sometime, if you wanted it very much? Pooh does, said Christopher Robin. He gave a deep sigh, picked his bear up by the leg, and walked off to the door, trailing Winnie the Pooh behind him. At the door, he turned and said, coming to see me have my bath? I might, I said. Was Pooh's pencil case any better than mine? It was just the same, I said. He nodded and went up, and in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. And there you go. That is the end of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, with illustrations by Ernest H. Shepard. And hello, Hello guys. It looks like there's some new people here that have come in. Oh, hi is here. Hello, hi. Hi. Um, Liana. Hello, Liana. Um, who else? Did I say hi to Trinity? Hello, Trinity. Ice is still here. You're still here, Ice. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed Winnie the Pooh. If you'd like to hear the rest of the story, please watch my older streams. I did some streams about 3 weeks ago, I think, reading, um, reading the prior chapters. Um, oh, Ice wasn't listening. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Thank you for chatting, though. Nice reading. Thank you. Thank you. I like reading. Like out loud. I don't like reading in silence because I always fall asleep. I love reading out loud. I have some other books here that maybe you guys would like. Sorry about the bright light. I have the Blue Fairy books. Um, Hello, Hutao. Hi. Jay, you had a nap? That's nice to hear. Thank you, thank you. Um, we can continue now. People were asking about, Beauty and the Beast. I think Beauty and the Beast is in here. There's quite a few, but I think these are kind of long. Here, Beauty and the Beast. Should we try it? How long is it? These, stories are not kind of, they're really dated. So I think this iteration of these fairy tales are, more than 100 years old. So there might be some words and some contents that are very, like, not, um, acceptable, I would say, in modern contemporary context. But I think they're still enjoyable. Snow White, we can do Snow White. We can do Snow White. What would you guys like? Snow White or Beauty and the Beast? Yes. 100. I think. Shall I check? When was this first published? Um. When was this published? Yes. So, 1889. So it's like 150. Yes. Um. Yes, 1889. So it's over. Oh, what? Yeah, over 100 years old. Way over 100 years old. Read the shortest one. Snow White. It looks like Snow White. People really like Snow White. I will do Snow White. Of the Snow White and the Red Rose. Let's see. Here we go. Let me drink a little bit. Okay. All right. Here we go. Snow White and Red Rose, and Rose Red, and Rose Red. A poor widow once lived in a little cottage with a garden in front of it, in which grew two rose trees, one bearing white roses and the other red. She had two children who were just like the two roses. One was called Snow White and the other Rose Red, and they were the sweetest and best children in the world, always diligent and always cheerful. But Snow White was quieter and more gentle than Rose Red. Rose Red loved to run about the fields and meadows, and to pick flowers and catch butterflies. But Snow White sat at home with her mother and helped her in the household, or read aloud to her when there was no work to do. The two children loved each other so dearly that they always walked about hand in hand whenever they went out together. And then Snow White said, "We will never desert each other." Red Rose answered, "No, not as long as we live." And the mother added, "Whatever one gets, she shall share with the other." They often roamed about in the woods, gathering berries, and no beast offered to hurt them. Did I say something wrong? I said cottage. Did I say college? In a little cottage? I'm sorry. Can I continue? On the contrary, they came up to them in the most confiding manner. The little hare would eat a cabbage leaf from their hands, and deer grazed beside them. The stag would bound past them merrily, and the birds remained on the branches and sang to them with all their might. No evil ever befell them. If they tarried late in the wood and night overtook them, they lay down together on the moss and slept till morning. And their mother knew they were quite safe and never felt anxious about them. Once, when they had slept the night in the wood and had been awakened by the morning sun, they perceived a beautiful child in a shining white robe sitting close to their resting place. The figure got up, looked at them kindly, but said nothing, and vanished into the wood. And when they looked round about them, they became aware that they had slept quite closely to a precipice, over which they would certainly have fallen had they gone on a few steps further in the darkness. And when they told their mother of their adventure, she said that they had she said what they had seen must have been the angel that guards good children. Snow White and Rose Red kept their mother's cottage so beautifully clean and neat that it was a pleasure to go into. In summer, Rose Red looked after the house, and every morning, before her mother awoke, she placed a bunch of flowers before the bed. From each tree a rose. In winter, Snow White lit the fire and put on the kettle, which was made of brass, but so beautifully polished that it shone like gold. In the evening, when the snowflakes fell, their mother said, "Snow White, go and close the shutters," and they drew round the fire, while the mother put on her spectacles and read aloud from a big book, and the two girls listened and sat and span. Beside them on the ground lay a little lamb, and behind them perched a little white dove with its head tucked under its wings. One evening, as they sat thus cozily together, someone knocked at the door as though he desired admittance. The mother said, "Rose Red, open the door quickly. It must be some traveler seeking shelter." Rose Red hastened to unbar the door, and though she saw a poor man standing in the darkness outside, and, 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 and thought she saw a poor man standing in the darkness outside, but it was no such thing, only a bear, who poked his thick black head through the door. Rose Red screamed aloud and sprang back in terror. The lamb began to bleat. The dove flapped its wings, and Snow White ran and hid behind her mother's bed. But the bear began to speak and said, "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I am half frozen and only wish to warm myself a little." "My poor bear," said the mother, "lie down by the fire. Only take care you don't burn your fur." Then she called out, "Snow White and Red Rose, come out. The bear will do you no harm. He is a good, honest creature." So they both came out of their hiding places, and gradually the lamb and dove drew near too, and they all forgot their fear. The bear asked the children to beat the snow a little out of his fur, and they fetched a brush and scrubbed him till he was dry. Then the beast stretched himself in front of the fire and growled quite happily and comfortably. The children soon grew quiet at their ease with him, and led their helpless guest a fearful life. They tugged his fur with their hands, put their small feet on his back, and rolled him about here and there, or took a hazel wand and beat him with it. And if he growled, they only laughed. The bear submitted to everything with the best possible good nature. Only when they went too far, he cried, "Oh, children, spare my life." Snow White and Rose Red, don't beat your lover dead. When it was time to retire for the night, and the others went to bed, the mother said to the bear, "You can lie there on the hearth. In heaven's name, it will be shelter for you from the cold and wet." As soon as day dawned, the children let him out, and he trotted over the snow into the wood. From this time on, the bear came every evening. At the same hour, and laid down by the hearth, and let the children play what pranks they liked with him, and they got so accustomed to him that the door was never shut till their black friend had made his appearance. When spring came, and all outside was green, the bear said one morning to Snow White, "Now I must go away, and not return again. The whole summer. Where are you? I will not return again the whole summer." "Where are you going to, dear bear?" asked Snow White. "I must go to the wood and protect my treasure from the wicked dwarves. In winter, when the earth is frozen hard, they are obliged to remain underground, for they can't work their way through. But now, when the sun has thawed and warmed the ground, they break through and come up above to spy the land and steal what they can. What once falls into their hand and into their caves is not easily brought back to light. Snow White was quite sad over their friend's departure, and when she unbarred the door for him, the bear stepped out, caught a piece of his hair in the door knocker, and Snow White thought she caught sight of glittering gold beneath it. But she couldn't be certain of it, and the bear ran hastily away and soon disappeared behind the trees. A short time after this, the mother sent the child into the wood to collect this word. They came into their wanderings upon a big tree which lay felled on the ground, and on the trunk among the long grass they noticed something jumping up and down. But what it was they couldn't distinguish. When they approached nearer, they perceived a dwarf with a wizened face and a beard a yard long. The end of the beard was jammed into a cleft of the tree, and the little man sprang about like a dog on a chain, and didn't seem to know what he was to do. He glared at the girls with his fiery red eyes, and screamed out, "What are you standing there for? Can't you come and help me?" "What were you doing, little man?" asked Red Rose. "You stupid inquisitive goose," replied the dwarf. "I wanted to split the tree in order to get little chips of wood for our kitchen fire. Those thick logs that serve to make fires for coarse, greedy people like you, like yourselves, quite burn up all the little food we need." I had successfully driven in the wedge, and all was going well, but the cursed wood was so slippery that it suddenly sprang out, and the tree closed up so rapidly that I had no time to take my beautiful white beard out. So here I am, stuck fast, and I can't get away. And you silly, smooth-faced milk and water girls just standing and laughing. Ugh, what wretches you are. The children did all in their power, but they couldn't get the beard out. It was wedged in far too firmly. "I will run and fetch somebody," said Rose Red. "Crazy blockheads," snapped the dwarf. "What's the good of calling anyone else? You're already too many for me. Does nothing better occur to you than that?" "Don't be patient," said Snow White. "I'll see you get help." And taking her scissors out of her pocket, she cut the end of his beard. As soon as the dwarf felt himself free, he seized a bag full of gold, which was hidden among the roots of the trees, lifted it up, and muttered aloud, "Curse these rude wretches, cutting off a piece of my splendid beard." With these words, he swung the bag over his back and disappeared, without as much as looking at the children again. Shortly after this, Snow White and Rose Red went out to get a dish of fish. As they approached the stream, they saw something which looked like an enormous grasshopper, springing towards the water as if it were going to jump in. They ran forward and recognized their old friend the dwarf. "Where are you going?" asked Rose Red. "You're surely not going to jump into the water." "I'm not such a fool," screamed the dwarf. "Don't you see that cursed fish is trying to drag me in?" The little man had been sitting on the bank fishing, when unfortunately the wind had entangled his beard in the line, and when immediately afterwards a big fish bit. The feeble little creature had no strength to pull it out. The fish had the upper fin, and dragged the dwarf towards him. He clung on with all his might, to every rush and blade of grass, but it didn't help him much. He had to follow every movement of the fish, and was in great danger of being drawn into the water. The girls came up just at the right moment, held him firm, and did all they could to disentangle his beard from the line, but in vain. Beard and line were in a hopeless muddle. Nothing remained but to produce the scissors and cut the beard, by which a small part of it was sacrificed. When the dwarf perceived what they were about, he yelled to them, "Do you call that manners, you toadstools, to disfigure a fellow's face? It wasn't enough that you shortened my beard before, but you must now need cut off the best bit of it. I can't appear like this before my own people. I wish you'd been at Jericho's first." Then he fetched the sack of pearls that lay among the rushes, and without saying another word, he dragged it away and disappeared behind a stone. It happened that soon after this, the mother sent the two girls to town to buy needles, thread, laces, and ribbons. Their road led over a heath where huge boulders of rocks lay scattered here and there. While trudging along, they saw a big bird hovering in the air, circling slowly above them, but always descending lower, till at last it settled on a rock not far from them. Immediately afterwards, they heard a sharp, piercing cry. They ran forwards and saw with horror that the eagle had pounced on their old friend the dwarf, and was about to carry him off. The tender-hearted children seized a hold of the little man, and struggled so long with the bird that at last he let go his prey. When the dwarf had recovered from the first shock, he screamed in his screeching voice, "Couldn't you have treated me more carefully? You have torn my thin little coat all to shreds. Useless, awkward hussies that you are." Then he took a bag of precious stones and vanished under the rocks into his cave. The girls were accustomed to his ingratitude, and went on their way and did their business in town. On their way home, as they were again passing the heath, they surprised the dwarf pulling out his precious stones on an open space, for he had thought no one would pass by at so late an hour. The evening sun shone and the glittering stones, on the glittering stones, and they glanced and gleamed so beautifully that the children stood still and gazed on them. "What are you standing there gaping for?" screamed the dwarf, and his ashen-gray face became a scarlet with rage. He was about to go off with these angry words when a sudden growl was heard, and a black bear trotted out of the wood. The dwarf jumped up in a great fright, but he hadn't time to reach his place of retreat, for the bear was already close to him. Then he cried in terror, "Dear Mr. Bear, spare me. I'll give you all my treasure. Look at those beautiful precious stones lying there. Spare my life. What pleasure would you get from a poor, feeble little fellow like me? You won't feel me between your teeth. There, lay hold of these two wicked girls. They will be a tender morsel for you, as fat as young quails. Eat them up, for heaven's sake." But the bear, paying no attention to his words, gave the evil little creature one blow with his paw, and he never moved again. The girls had run away, but the bear called after them, "Snow White and Red Rose, don't be afraid. Wait, and I'll come with you." Then they recognized his voice and stood still, and when the bear was quite close to them, his skin suddenly fell off, and a beautiful man stood beside them, all dressed in gold. "I am a king's son," he said, "and have been doomed by that unholy little dwarf, who had stolen my treasure, to roam about the wood as a wild bear till his death should set me free. Now he has got his well-merited punishment." Snow White married him, and Rose Red his brother, and they divided the great treasure the dwarf had collected in his Nis cave between them. The old mother lived for many years peacefully with her children, and she carried the 2 rose trees with her, and they stood in front of her window, and every year they bore the finest red and white roses. And there you go. That's it. That's the story. That one was not too long. I liked that one. I hope you liked it. I started to read a little bit faster at the end, I think I usually do that. I start to read fast at the end. Is anyone still here? You guys still? Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anyone that came in? Vini. Hello, Vini. Sorry, I'm not reading the chat, as much because I'm reading. I hope you're still here. Hello, Vini. And hi, hey, Shadi. Hey, Shadi. Thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the reading. How long has it been? Almost 2 hours. I forgot how much these tire out my voice. I don't know how much left I have in me, to be honest. I think I can read one more. But I hope you guys enjoyed. What should we read next? What would you guys like? Let me go back here and we can decide. Where is it? Here we go. And we also have this page as well. There's quite a bit in here. Black Bull of Norway. I don't know. I haven't read any of these. There's quite a bit. What would you guys like to see? We've read Little Red Riding Hood, and we've read East of the Sun and West of the Moon. We've also read Snow White and Red Rose. Something not too long. I don't know if I can see how long they are. What catches your eye? Okay. Please let me know. Princess and the Pea. I don't know. Princess and the Pea. Doesn't look like. Cinderella? Is Cinderella in here? Oh, that is. Here we go. Shall we do Cinderella? We can do Cinderella. How long is this? What? Let's see. That's not too long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 7-ish pages. done already? No, we're not done. We're gonna read another one. Ice. Cinderella. We can do Cinderella. It's quite short. Okay. Let's go. Alright. Here we go. Cinderella, or the Little Glass Slipper. Once there was a gentleman who married for his second wife the proudest and most haughty woman that was ever seen. She had, by a former husband, 2 daughters of her own humor, who were, indeed, exactly like her in all things. He had likewise, by another wife, a young daughter, but of unparalleled goodness and sweetness of temper, which she took from her mother, who was the best creature in the world. No sooner were the ceremonies of the weddings over, but the mother-in-law began to show herself in her true colors. She could not bear the good qualities of this pretty girl, and the less because they made her own daughters appear the more odious. She employed her in the meanest work of the house. She scoured the dishes, tables, etc., and rubbed Madame's chambers and those of Mrs. her daughters. She lay up in a sorry garret upon a wretched straw bed, while her sisters lay in fine rooms, with floors all inlaid upon beds of the very newest fashion, and where they had looking glasses so large that they might see themselves at their full length from head to foot. The poor girl bore all patiently, and dared not tell her father, who would have ratted her off, for his wife governed him entirely. When she had done her work, she used to go into the chimney corner and sit down among cinders and ashes, which made her commonly be called Cinder Wench. But the youngest, who was not so rude and uncivil as the eldest, called her Cinderella. However, Cinderella, notwithstanding her mean apparel, was 100 times handsomer than her sisters, though they were always dressed very richly. It happened that the king's son gave a ball, and invited all persons of fashion to it. Our young misses were also invited, for they cut a very grand figure among the quality. They were mightily delighted at this invitation, and wonderfully busy in choosing out such gowns, petticoats, and headcloths as might become them. This was a new trouble to Cinderella, for it was she who ironed her sisters' linen and plaited their ruffles. They talked all day long of nothing but how they should be dressed. For my part, said the eldest, I will wear my red velvet suit with French trimming. And I, said the youngest, shall have my usual petticoats, but then, to make amends for that, I will put on my gold-flowered manteau and my diamond stomacher, which is far from being the most ordinary one in the world. They sent for the best tirewomen they could get to make up their headdresses and adjust their double pinners, and they had their red brushes and patches from Mademoiselle de la Poche. Cinderella was likewise called up to them to be consulted in all these matters, for she had excellent notions, and advised them always for the best, nay, and offered her services to dress their hands, which they were very willingly should she do. As she was doing this, they said to her, Cinderella, would you not be glad to go to the ball? Alas, said she, you only jeer me. It's not for such as I am to go thither. Thou art in the right of it, replied they. It would make the people laugh to see a cinder wench at a ball. Anyone but Cinderella would have dressed their heads awry, but she was very good, and dressed them perfectly well. They were almost 2 days without eating, so much they were transported with joy. They broke above a dozen of laces in trying to be laced up close, that they might have a fine slender shape, and they were continually at their looking glass. At the last day came, they went to court, and Cinderella followed them with her eyes as long as she could, and when she had lost sight of them, she fell a cry. Her godmother, who saw her all in tears, asked her what was the matter. I wish I could. She was not able to speak the rest, being interrupted by her tears and sobbing. This godmother of hers, who was a fairy, said to her, Thou wishest thou couldst go to the ball, is it not so? Yes, cried Cinderella with a great sigh. Well, said her godmother, be but a good girl, and I will contrive that thou shalt go. Then she took her into her chamber and said to her, Run into the garden and bring me a pumpkin. Cinderella went immediately to gather the finest she could get, and brought it to her godmother, not being able to imagine how this pumpkin could make her go to the ball. Her godmother scooped out all of the inside of it, having left nothing but the rind, which done, she struck it with her wand, and the pumpkin was instantly turned into a fine coach, gilded all over with gold. She then went to look into her mouse trap, where she found 6 mice, all alive, and ordered Cinderella to lift up a little the trapdoor, when giving each mouse, as it went out, a little tap with her wand. The mouse was the moment turned into a fine horse. Was that moment turned into a fine horse, which altogether made a very fine set of 6 horses of a beautiful mouse-colored dapple gray. Being at a loss for a coachman, I will go and see, says Cinderella, if there is never a rat in the rat trap. We may make a coachman of him. Thou art in the right, replied her godmother. Go and look. Cinderella brought the trap to her, and in there were 3 huge rats. The fairy made choice of one of the 3, which had the largest beard, and having touched him with her wand, he was turned into a fat, jolly coachman, who had the smartest whiskers eyes ever beheld. After that, she said to her, Go again into the garden, and you will find 6 lizards behind the watering pot. Bring them to me. She had no sooner done so, but her godmother turned them into 6 footmen, who skipped up immediately behind the coach, with their liveries all bedaubed with gold and silver, and clung as close behind each other as if they had done nothing else their whole lives. The fairy then said to Cinderella, Well, you see here an equipage fit to go to the ball with. Are you not pleased with it? Ah, yes, cried she, but must I go thither as I am, in these nasty rags? Her godmother only just touched her with her wand, and at that same instant her clothes were turned into a cloth of gold and silver, all beset with jewels. This done, she gave her a pair of glass slippers, the prettiest in the whole world. Being thus decked out, she got up into her coach, but her godmother, above all things, commanded her not to stay till after midnight, telling her at the same time that if she stayed one moment longer, the coach would be a pumpkin again, her horses mice, her coachman a rat, her footmen lizards, and her clothes become just as they were before. She promised her godmother she would not fail of leaving the ball before midnight, and then away she drives, scarce able to contain herself for joy. The king's son, who was told that a great princess whom nobody knew was come, ran out to receive her. He gave her his hand as she alighted out of the coach, and led her into the hall, among all the company. There was immediately a profound silence. They left off dancing, and the violins ceased to play. So attentive was everyone to contemplate the singular beauties of the unknown newcomer. Nothing was then heard but a confused noise of, "Ha! How handsome she is! Ha! How handsome she is!" The king himself, old as he was, could not help watching her, and telling the queen softly that it was a long time since he had seen so beautiful and lovely a creature. All the ladies were busied in considering her clothes and headdress, that they might have some made next day after the same pattern, provided they could meet with such fine materials as able hands to make them. The king's son conducted her to the most honorable seat, and afterwards took her out to dance with him. She danced so very gracefully that they all more and more admired her. A fine collation was served up, whereof the young prince ate not a morsel, so intently was he busied in gazing on her. She went and sat down by her sisters, showing them 1,000 civilities, giving them part of the oranges and citrons which the prince had presented her with, which very much surprised them, for they did not know her. While Cinderella was thus amusing her sisters, she heard the clock strike 11 and 3/4, whereupon she immediately made a courtesy to the company and hasted away as fast as she could. Being got home, she ran to seek out her godmother, and after having thanked her, she said she could not but heartily wish she might go next day to the ball, because the king's son had desired her. As she was eagerly telling her godmother what had passed at the ball, her two sisters knocked at the door, which Cinderella ran and opened. "How long have you stayed?" cried she, gaping, rubbing her eyes, and stretching herself as if she had been just waked out of her sleep. She had not, however, any matter of inclination to sleep since they went from home. "If thou hadst been at the ball," says one of her sisters, "thou wouldst not have been tired with it. There came thither the finest princess, the most beautiful ever was seen with mortal eyes. She showed up as 1,000 civilities, and became us oranges and gave us oranges and citrons." Cinderella seemed very indifferent in the matter. Indeed, she asked them the name of that princess, but they told her they did not know it, and that the king's son was very uneasy on her account, and would give all the world to know who she was. At this, Cinderella, smiling, replied, "She must, then, be very beautiful indeed. Now happy you have been, could not I see her? Ah, dear Miss Charlotte, do lend me your yellow suit of clothes which you wear every day." "Ay, to be sure," cried Miss Charlotte, "lend my clothes to such a dirty, slender wench as thou art. I should be a fool." Cinderella, indeed, expected well such an answer, and was very glad of the refusal, for she would have been sadly put in it if her sister had lent her what she asked for jestingly. The next day the two sisters were at the ball, and so was Cinderella, but dressed more magnificently than before. The king's son was always by her, and never ceased his compliments and kind speeches to her, to whom all this was so far from being tiresome that she quite forgot that her godmother had recommended to her, so that she at last counted the clock striking 12 when she took it to be no more than 11. She then rose up and fled, as nimble as a deer. The prince followed, but could not overtake her. She left behind one of her glass slippers, which the prince took up most carefully. She got home, but quite out of breath, and in her nasty old clothes, having nothing left her of all her finery but one of the little slippers. Fellow to that, she dropped. The guards at the palace gate were asked if they had not seen a princess go out, who said they had seen nobody go out but a young girl, very meanly dressed, and who had more the air of a poor country wench than a gentlewoman. When the two sisters returned from the ball, Cinderella asked them if they had been well diverted, and if the fine lady had been there. They told her yes, but she hurried away immediately when it struck 12, and with so much haste that she dropped one of her little glass slippers, the prettiest in the world, which the king's son had taken up, that he had done nothing but look at her all the time at the ball, and that most certainly he was very much in love with the beautiful person who owned the glass slipper. What they said was very true, for a few days later, after the king's son caused it to be proclaimed by sound of trumpet that he would marry her whose foot fit this slipper, with whose foot this slipper would just fit. The whom he employed began to try it upon the princesses, then the duchesses, and all the court, but in vain. It was brought to the two sisters, who did all they possibly could to thrust their foot into the slipper, but they could not effect it. Cinderella, who saw all this, and knew her slipper, said to them laughing, "Let me see if it would not fit me." Her sisters burst out a laugh, and began to banter her. The gentleman who was sent to try the slipper looked earnestly at Cinderella, and, finding her very handsome, said, it was but just that she should try, and that he had orders to let everyone make trial. He obliged Cinderella to sit down, and, putting the slipper to her foot, he found it went on very easily, and fitted her as if it had been made of wax. The astonishment her two sisters were in was excessively great, but still abundantly greater when Cinderella put out of her pocket the other slipper, and put it on her foot. Thereupon in came her godmother, who, having touched her with her wand, Cinderella's clothes made them richer and more magnificent than any of those she had before. And now her two sisters found her to be that fine, beautiful lady whom they had seen at the ball. They threw themselves at her feet to beg pardon for all the ill treatment they had made her undergo. Cinderella took them up, and, as she embraced them, cried that she forgave them with all her heart and desired them to always love her. She was conducted to the young prince, dressed as she was. He thought her more charming than ever, and, a few days later, married her. Cinderella, who was no less good than beautiful, gave her two sisters lodgings in the palace, and that very same day matched them with two great lords of the court. And that's the end. That's the end of the story. This one is very lovely. I like this one a lot. Did I miss anybody? And Ray, hello Ray. Hi Ray. These stories are really hard to read because it's like old, very very old English, and they're not very I don't know how to say, not very easy to read at all. But hello Ray, thank you for coming by. Thank you. I hope you're still here. I think it was lovely. Oh, thank you. Oh, there's Ice. Hello, Ice. Alright. There's quite a few people here today. There's quite a few people. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the reading. But I would love to record something like this and like maybe like upload it. Do you think, would you guys like that? I don't know if people would watch that. I think it'd be quite nice. Like audiobooks. I've always wanted to, I keep saying it, but I always wanted to make audiobooks and things like this. Maybe I should make a different channel. I'd probably make a different channel. I don't want to mix them together. You know? My usual content and this kind of thing. I'd probably make a different channel. That's for the best. It'd be a little bit weird if I uploaded, you know, a wholesome reading video, and then like the next, like after a few days I upload my regular content. I think that'd be a little bit weird. So maybe I'll make another one. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. There's quite a few people here today. I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday. I don't know if I can read anymore. My throat is getting really dry. Bonjour. Salut Léla. Bonjour. Hello. We just got done reading Cinderella. I don't know if I can read anymore though. Oh. Attends. Leila, c'est presque ton anniversaire. Malheureusement, je vais probablement pas être là pour, pour fêter ton anniversaire. Alors, désolé. Mais, happy birthday. It's gonna be Layla's birthday pretty soon, I think. So, but I don't know if I'll be here. So, happy birthday, Layla. Bien sûr, je souviens. Bien sûr. Of course, how could I forget? Oui, j'espère que tu passes un bel anniversaire. Thank you. Un beau, une belle, I don't know. Anniversaire, c'est-il? Is that feminine? I think it is. Anyway. I can't remember. Désolé. Yeah, I do speak French. Not well though. I speak pretty badly. Okay. But thank you, Leila. Merci, merci. Je sais pas. Et puis demain, c'est you'll be 24. Un bel anniversaire. Pas une... Okay. But he's gonna be 24. Wow. Hope you have fun. Sorry I won't be around. I wish I could be. I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you. Yeah, today's a little bit different. I wanted to do ASMR. I want to do more ASMR things. But it's kind of a little bit too late for that, you know. I'm still live. I am still live. What else can I do? I don't know if I can read anymore. My throat is really killing me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today. Because I definitely did. Yeah, thank you. And the reason why I chose to do this today is because I've been telling people that I was gonna read again on stream for a while. I kept telling people that I was gonna read, so I wanted to do it one last time before I left. But yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad you liked it, because I had a lot of fun too. Why is everyone going to cry? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why, but I hope it's not too serious, guys. I hope But yeah. But I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. What should I do tomorrow? I don't know. I was just gonna talk. I don't really have anything planned, really. He's quitting. Let's go. Let's go. He's quitting. I don't know. Maybe I'll just talk. I hope you guys can make it though. Alright, I was planning on streaming the whole day. I'm gonna start the stream I'm gonna start the stream in the morning. I'm gonna see how long I can stay. For I don't know. We might do a lot of things. Um, don't cry. Don't be emotional. It's okay. I'll be back. You can. There's plenty of other YouTubers you can watch. 24 hours? Probably not 24 hours. Definitely not 24 hours. Actually, because I have like homework and stuff. The whole reason why I'm taking a break is because I have finals to do, and after that I have to go to work. So I won't be able to stream like at all. So yeah. Mm, yeah. So I'll still try to update the channel. I might stream. Maybe I don't know. I'll try. I'll see if I can. We'll see. But it might be maybe months until like I come back like regularly, you know. But I just hope when I come back you guys are still around. There's a Discord. There is a Discord. We have almost like 50 people in it. How many people is in the Discord? One, two, there's five. There's like 44 people. Drop the Discord. Okay, sure. There's like 40. That's a lot of people actually. There you go. Always talk on community post? Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. But obviously I love streams. You have to start studying, yeah. Make sure you guys start studying. I hope you guys do well. Good luck. Good luck to you guys too. But I actually have an essay due. I have two. Oh my gosh, I have two essays due on the 14th. So Thursday. There's two essays I have on the 14th, and I haven't really started them. So you will not find me. You will not see me on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday probably. So tomorrow the 10th is my stream. That's gonna be my last stream. It's gonna be a long one. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm probably gonna dedicate it all to writing my final essays of the semester. So I will definitely not be around at all. Maybe just to distract myself a little bit, but definitely no streams, no videos. Um, yeah. And then after that, I have one due on the 19th, and then I have to go back to work. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we'll see. We'll see what happens. I feel like it's like gonna kill me. You know, like I'm gonna be like I want to stream so bad, but I can't. Uh, we'll see. And there's so many things I want to do that I didn't get the chance to do yet, and I hope I can come back and do them. I really do. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for waiting. I appreciate it. Yeah. But it's not goodbye just yet. It's not goodbye just yet. I still have tomorrow. I don't know, what else can we talk about? My voice is killing me though, and I have some stuff to do after this. Um, can I check the poll? Let's check the poll from yesterday. Except I don't think it's changed at all. I think it's still the same. Yeah, it's still the same. Rice is still winning. Hello, Jay. Hi, thanks for coming back. Did you have a good sleep? Yeah, we're talking about tomorrow. Um, I sound tired. Yeah, I am tired. There's a lot going on. Like, a lot. Um, but, sorry. No, I know Ice is just playing. Ice is just playing, don't mind him. Um, but again, if you guys missed the stream, you can always go back and watch it. It was nice. This is like back to my how I started, just reading and doing ASMR. Um, uh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna die, guys. I'm not dying. I'll come back. It might be a while, but um, yeah. You can always rewatch the stream and go watch the other reading streams if you like reading. I think the other ones were better because um, less things were happening in chat. Alright. I guess that's it for this stream. It's been 2 hours and a half. That's kind of short. I won't forget about you guys, don't worry. Alright. Yeah. Yeah, some of you guys who have been here for a while, you might. It's kind of. I don't know, it's kind of nostalgic for me. Doesn't it feel nostalgic? Even though it was only like a month ago? When was the last reading stream? The last reading stream was March 2nd. So it was like a month ago. Like 6 weeks ago. Or not 6 weeks, like 5 weeks ago. So it has really been a while since I did a reading stream. My cheeks won't be so titanium anymore. Don't worry, I take very good care of my cheeks. There's a lot of maintenance. A lot of maintenance goes into the titanium cheeks. Don't worry about it. They'll be ready for you when I come back. Okay, well, I guess that's it. That's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching, everybody. I'm gonna go eat lunch now and probably go back to sleep. But thank you guys so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Thank you. Yeah, guys, see you guys next time. I love you. Bye. Thank you.